After a car accident, insurance companies will take every shot they can to leave you with nothing. But at Dubin Law, the game isn't over until you get the money you deserve. So call Dubin Law and add us to your roster today.
And my mom says, no, you're not going. And this dialogue went on for a few minutes, and she kept telling me no. I kept saying, please, I want to go. And she kept saying, they're not going to let you. They've never let a colored boy join this Little League football program. And she blurted out, you believe those little white boys more than you believe your own mother. Because I kept telling her, they said I could go with them. They said I could join. And if it had not been for that day, Blue, I would have never gotten to play college football. I would have never gotten to be inducted in my college's Sports Hall of Fame.
Welcome back to the Blue Stiley podcast. Today's conversation is about resilience, leadership, and what it really means to leave something behind that matters. My guest is Arthur Broady, a man whose life is shaped by perseverance, purpose, and human connection. From pushing through barriers as a young athlete to becoming the first African American to attend his high school and college, Arthur's journey is filled with moments that could have stopped him, but didn't. We talk about the mentors and family members who believed in him, the lessons he learned through sports and education, and why giving back is not optional once you've been given an opportunity. This episode is a reminder that legacy isn't built in one big moment. It's built through everyday choices, relationships, and the courage to keep moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Arthur Broady, a man whose life is defined not just by what you've overcome, but those who you've chosen to serve. And your life can remind all of us that justice and leadership and hope aren't abstract ideas, but they are daily choices that we can all make. And Arthur, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today, and thank you for being here.
The pleasure is all mine, Blue. Thank you very much.
Well, I have been looking forward to this for a long time, and before we get into the weeds of things, I really would want everybody to kind of understand that you didn't wake up one day and decide to make a difference or an impact in this world, but you've chosen to do that. And I just want everybody to know that I want this conversation to be about a human story about you and your journey and the difference that you continue to make. And so because of that, I know that you're going to continue making that impact, and I want people to hear that real raw story. And I don't want the headlines of a story. I want it to be from your heart. And the conversations that we've had and how I met you, you're just that person, and you just have so much experience, and you're a wealth of knowledge that you can share with so many people, and you're a good man. And I'm glad to have you in my life, and I'm very, very interested in this conversation. So thanks for being a part of this.
Mike, thank you.
Thank you. Well, you and I actually met at a Toastmasters event because I was asked to come back as an ex-alumni Toastmaster, and you heard my story, and you introduced yourself. I met your son, and we had similar parallels in our lives, and it was just awesome. And so we hit it off right away, and you wanted to become actually you're a motivational speaker yourself, and you and I have learned to brainstorm with each other as a mentor-mentee and vice versa. And we've had some great conversations, and I honestly say that I'm learning more from you than you learn from me.
Well, Blue, you said a few things during your speech that connected with me. One was that you encourage people to stalk somebody that you have a lot of admiration for, you believe can provide you with some of the things that you need. I decided then and there, I'm stalking this guy. And so it's not by accident that we're speaking here today together. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Well, I love that.
Thank you for responding to me.
Oh, well, I think that thank you for continuing to make the impact that you do. And it's like when I hear people's stories and things resonate with me, it really hits home. And I love to connect myself with people that I can learn from and who might have an experience or knowledge or a story that impacts me in a certain way or that I can then share. And if I can give back, then that fills my reward bucket. And just hearing your story is just amazing. And so I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience. And just I kind of want to know basically, like, there was a point in your time in your life where you were brought into this world and you didn't know that you were going to make this difference, but you decided, like, there was a time in your life that occurred that was like, this is going to be that moment. And so can you kind of hit on the fact that there was a point in your life where you started to see things a little bit differently than maybe you thought life was supposed to be like?
Thank you. I believe there's been several of those events in my life that kept me moving in the direction. It wasn't really a single thing. One of the more recent memories that I've been called on to bring back up and relive was when I became a little league football player. Now, to most people, that might seem insignificant. But in hindsight, that was the day that I became a member of this little league football program. That was the day that I know my passion became obvious. Looking back, because I was literally standing in the kitchen arguing with my mother.
How old were you at this time?
I was 7 years old.
7 years, and this is last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year.
Right.
I had a birthday yesterday, by the way.
Oh, you did? Happy birthday.
78.
Oh, 78
so this was
years young.
70 years ago. This is when that happened.
Oh, my goodness. That's well, happy birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, I've never had anybody that close on a birthday today. So that's excellent. Happy belated birthday.
Where's the cake?
I don't have one. Would you like a pin? So you're 7 years old. You're sitting in the kitchen with your mom, and you're going to have this conversation about football.
Yes. That was in 1955. Jim Crow laws, segregation was still in existence at the time. And I lived in a poor neighborhood. I didn't live in a colored neighborhood. It was a poor neighborhood. Poor whites and colored folks lived beside one another in harmony most of the time. And so I had these three white boys on my front porch who I played with all the time, and we all decided we were going to go and join this little league football program that Saturday in the fall. And they were on my front porch, and I'm inside asking Mom for permission to go across town and to borrow $5 to pay the registration fee. And my mom says, "No, you're not going." And this dialogue went on for a few minutes, and she kept telling me no. I kept saying, "Please, I want to go." And she kept saying, "They're not going to let you join this little league football program. They've never let a colored boy join this little league football program." And out of, I think, frustration on their part, arguing with me, she knew something was wrong with me. I didn't have a practice of standing around arguing with my mom and dad. You know, that could be dangerous. But that morning, something was happening to me.
Sure.
And she blurted out, "You believe those little white boys more than you believe your own mother." Because I kept telling her, they said I could go with them. They said I could join. And she kept saying no, and I kept saying they said I could. And she said, "You believe those little white boys." And she finally gave up, gave me the $5, said, "Don't worry about paying it back because they're not going to let you join anyway. You'll be back home with that $5. Well, as it turns out, I got selected, got put on a team. And I returned home, and Mom was standing there in the kitchen. And I said, "Mom, I'm going to be a football player." And we hugged, and she dried her eyes because she
was out $5.
No, she actually said, "Don't worry about paying it back."
Okay.
So it was that day when I look back, that's the day that I was being passionate about something. The first time I think I can recall ever being passionate about something. Sure, we wanted a cowboy gun or a bicycle, but this was serious.
Yeah.
I mean, this was serious. And if it had not been for that day, Blue, I would never have gotten to play high school football. I would have never gotten to play college football. I would have never gotten to be inducted in my college's Sports Hall of Fame. That day was the beginning of this passion that kept me driven and moving in that direction all the way to the end. And I learned different things along the way.
Sure. When you came home and you told your mom that, did she think it was kind of like a dream and you were setting yourself up for failure, or did she start to believe herself, like maybe you could do something different, or maybe you could be a part and accepted, or was that a difficult conversation?
The return home, things changed. Like I said, my mom knew her son.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that wasn't her son standing there in the kitchen, not responding to the no,
Mm-hmm.
that I would continue to say, I can do this, Mom. Just let me go. Give me the money. And I think from that moment on, she became my best fan. The loudest. I was in college football games, and I could hear her in the stands, the loudest person up there. And she was with me the day I got inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame.
Mm.
And we sat there and we kind of joked about, remember that day in the kitchen? And she said, oh, yeah.
Oh.
So it was a series of events. And for me to even play, see, the Negro High School in my hometown did not have a football team.
Mm-hmm.
I had to move, when I got to the 8th grade, moved to a different county, live with my grandparents, where in that county, the Negro school had a football team.
Mm-hmm.
So I specifically went to live with my grandparents to go play football there. Now, that's a small school.
Yeah.
And they didn't have an 8th grade team or JV team.
Yeah.
They only had a varsity team. And it was just myself and another 8th grader that was allowed to play on this team. The other guy was about twice my size and mean, so they wouldn't turn him down.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like a 150-pounder standing out there saying, I want to play football with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were the dummies most of the time, the 8th grade year, but I ended up starting on the team as a 10th grader, 11th grader, and then schools integrated my senior year. I go to the all-white school. I'm back home in my county. I'm a starter at my senior year at the high school. And I had to make the team. Now, had I not played Little League and been able to make the team in high school, I wouldn't have been able to play at my senior year.
At that level. Absolutely.
Because it was a big school, a lot of players, and for me to come out of nowhere and compete and be a starter for the first game was, odds were pretty
rare.
bad. Yeah.
It was rare.
And I'll tell you this, my first game, we're playing this town about 10 miles away. We are historical rivals. I mean, there's blood between these two schools. That was the first game of the season. It's a cross-town rival. We played them about a minute before the half time. I get thrown a pass in the flat. I run 55 yards for a touchdown. The score ends 6-0. The next day, it was a Friday night. The next day, Saturday, they were giving me the keys to the city.
For your one touchdown. That was awesome.
And I can go home today, and there's still people saying, I was at that game that night.
Oh.
It was just the rite of passage.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the town's a Jim Crow historical town. They just went through integration. They weren't sure how to handle black kids coming to school, first year of integration, and bang, there it was.
And you were obviously at the head of the front of everything. You were leading the pack, I guess. Let's say you hit on something, and that is that your mom was instrumental in you and being your greatest cheerleader and your biggest fan. And I have a similar background. My mom was my greatest cheerleader and really pushed me and believed in me. And I think that a lot of people forget the power of having someone at their side to believe in themselves and to boost their confidence and to be that greatest support system. Is that something that you understood at the time, or did you kind of take for granted that your mom, or was it a bond from that moment on that you realized that no matter what you did, you couldn't really do wrong?
I'm not sure how to answer that because my mom was always there. My dad too, but my dad worked 6 days a week. He never saw me play football in high school in the other county before they integrated. He did see the games in my senior year. And so he really had little connection with me. My mom didn't either. No one in my family saw me play in the other county for 8th through 9th, 10th, 11th grade. They just didn't. They didn't see that. They were played on Thursday nights. On top of that, white schools got to play on Friday night in the stadiums. Color schools got to play on Thursday nights.
Okay.
So it was a work night, school the next day. So it was inconvenient for them to travel, 50 miles to go watch their son play.
It is amazing that it wasn't that long ago. Right. Like, and I think today we take for granted the ability to play on a Friday night or everybody together. And it's just like, that was not that long ago. And that's crazy that it was just, it feels like yesterday, I'm sure, for you.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So just take this one more story further. Because of the success I had in my senior high school year, this all-white school, the exposure that school had with the news and papers and sports writers and things. That summer, I was scheduled with my buddies to go to the military because we were going to graduate. I was going to go to the military because I had not considered seriously college. We used to have a joke among us. When I left that black school, when they integrated, I still kept my friendships with those guys.
Yeah.
And we always had a joke that after high school, we were going to be in a uniform. It was either going to be in the military, preferably the Marines, or the bellhop at the hotel downtown. That was our destiny. That's what we all did.
Sure.
One of those two things. We didn't go to college. So the exposure I had in my senior year, my plan was to go that summer into the military with the rest of my buddies.
Yeah.
But I get a notice in the mail from some sports writer that says, you've been selected to play on this all-star team in Virginia against the West Virginia All-Stars. It was a benefit ball game.
Yeah.
No football player ever turns down one more game, you know that.
Right.
So I told my buddies, I can't go in with you until after I get over this game, and they went ahead and joined. But I went to this game. I responded that I would play. It involved 2 weeks of practice
with the team.
With the team, because we came from different places in the state. And the coach turns out to be a guy named Casto Ramsey. And Ramsey was the football coach at the college that I ended up going to. And and he didn't really know me. Sports writers were the ones who made the selections. And so after the first week of practice, he said, Scrapper, where are you going to college?
This is your nickname.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, Coach, I'm not going to college. I'm going
to the military.
He said, no, not you going to go to college.
Really?
That's it. And we beat that game 13-0, and I had a touchdown in that. So a couple of weeks after that game was over, I get told to be at the college to meet the the admissions folks. And I ended up down there taking college exams, entry
something
exams.
You weren't prepared for, obviously.
I hadn't planned on all of that.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'm enrolled, and I become the first Afro-American in the school's history to enroll into that school, male student, full-time, and football player.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
okay, let's pause because you said so much in there that I want to unravel a little bit. Let's talk about your nickname very quickly. He called you Scrapper. There's a reason. I'm assuming it's because you battle and you combat like you're awesome. So what is the Scrapper part? You didn't quit.
You're absolutely wrong.
Okay.
My mom gave me that name within 24, 48 hours when I was born. My family is known for nicknames. And I don't know. Well, she told me that there was a little 15-minute local TV, a radio show that came on while she was in the hospital giving birth. And the kid was like a Dennis the Menace character named Scrappy. Scrappy. And so she decided to name me Scrapper. Nickname.
Yeah.
And it stuck, That's like the boy named Sue.
Yeah. Or Blue.
Or Blue.
Or Blue. That's Blue. Let's not go with Sue. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so that's how you got your nickname Scrapper, and obviously it might have given you a little bit of street cred, as in, oh, he could be a scrapper, so I'm going to watch out for him. I also want to ask you, what was it like? Did you feel accepted in the all-white school? Because at that time, how did that feel? Like, what do you feel? I went to college in Japan, and I was on the all-collegiate team, and I never felt like I was accepted within the group, in the bukatsu, which is just basically like a group of the karate kids, let's call them, as part of the college team. And I never felt accepted. I was always the outsider. And the Japanese have a term called gaijin, which is basically the outsider. And I never felt accepted. I was a part of the team, and I was on the team, and I went to college there, but I just never felt accepted, and I didn't feel welcomed. And I was able to do my own thing, but I remember distinctly remembering, like, they went off to Okinawa after we won the championship, and I wasn't invited. And that sucked because I would have gone, and their excuse was, well, we didn't think that you wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And it was like, no, I would have loved to have gone, but I never felt like I was actually a part of the team. How did you feel at an all-white school at that time?
Well, we're talking about two all-white schools, high school and college, right? So we go back to when I was on the Little League football team. Mm-hmm. So I leave the county when I go into the 8th grade, and I return back when I'm a senior. The majority of the kids I played Little League with are now on the senior football team. Mm. So it was like a reunion.
Yeah.
We had a great time, and I didn't have...
The same boys who wanted you to try out for the team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, one of the three that I went with was the starting running back as a junior, and I showed up and I took his job. I mean, so I mean, we didn't have problems with it.
Yeah.
Especially after the touchdown in the first game, nobody had a problem with me. But the acceptance was very different for me. There was only 4 black kids in the senior class that year. 2 boys and 2 girls. The other boy was not really an athlete. He was into cars and mechanics and things. So the 4 of us in this big school hardly ever saw each other. And so my friendship group, my base group, were football players or athletes.
Or the kids you were in class with or something. Sure.
Yeah. And so I didn't have an issue. Mm. And I'll repeat, there was no colored neighborhood. There was no them and us. Mm-hmm. The only them and us was poor people and rich people. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't really have that. So it wasn't a challenging time in high school to go in and be accepted.
Yeah.
And then my college that I ended up going to is 30 miles down the road.
So you
4 or 5 of those guys had either been, went when I went, or they went before me. Mm-hmm. So I go into this situation again, sort of a known person. Mm-hmm. And we were there 2 or 3 weeks before school starts, so we all had a chance to grow and bond and develop with each other, and so school starts, and it's you're the only one walking around campus. Well, I didn't care. Mm-hmm. Because I had to get to football practice. You
didn't let distractions hit you, or you didn't have time to focus on the negative. Right. It was like you were there for football.
There were others that followed me. Mm-hmm. They did not have that type of relationship when they came there. Sure. When they arrived, they had to build those relationships. Now they had a different experience than I had.
Sure.
And they still are. I mean, that really hasn't.
Well, and it's for everybody, right? Like, and I just mentioned, like, I experienced that living in Japan, mm-hmm. and so it's like, and I could, if I moved states and I went to a different high school, or if I went to a different college, I I feel so bad for kids like military brats who have to change schools all the time. And my dad was military. All of my dad's side of the family was military, and it was like he constantly had to change friends, and that would be a very hard life to set those roots up. And I think that is a benefit that my wife and I want to bring to the Liberty Lake community. It's like they get to go to school where elementary and junior high and high school, and they grow within the community. And it's like there is power and a positive side of that, of being in a neighborhood where you can grow your roots, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so you obviously experience that. Yeah. I want to know also, your mom, obviously your mom and your dad were influential to you, but is that something that you tell people now about the power of having someone at your side? Like, is that something that you tell younger generations now, like, make that connection? How important was it to have that bond with your parents? And how lucky is it that you had two parents together, right? My parents split, and a lot of families now are split. And so how important was that for you to have that bond with both of your parents?
I think it was extremely important. I think I have the unique situation where I did have two parents. Mm-hmm. I did have two sets of grandparents that I knew personally. I lived with one set while I was in high school. The other one was in my hometown. And I knew every aunt and uncle I had. I knew every cousin I had. And I grew up not realizing that I'm around guys that only have one parent or don't know their grandparents. Don't know all four of the grandparents, or don't know all their cousins. And so I could see their perspective on things were very different than mine. I had aunts and uncles. Most of them were professionals. They ended up being in education or some other profession. So they were always telling me, you can do this, or they were always modeling success of some type, unlike a lot of other peers of mine. They just didn't have role models or good role models to fall after. Expectations. I had uncles that would tell me, you better make a touchdown tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and they would be there for, my senior year in college or in high school or in college. By this time, Blue, they're my fan base.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, they've seen the journey.
Yeah.
They weren't hanging around Little League football games or things like that. But man, when I became a celebrity, they get jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah. Well, and at a time when you being who you were, that just amplified it, right? And I'm assuming that, would you give credit that the decision that you made to stand up for what you were passionate about with your mom, is that the thing that changed the trajectory of your life? One moment? I
think that was a very key moment, because if you remove that from the sequence of events, the equation, the other dominoes would not have fallen that way. Because it didn't happen for the other kids. My other friends in town, especially the black kids in town, that didn't play. They didn't play Little League or Pony League or Babe Ruth. They didn't play because they couldn't play high school. There was no high school team for them to play on. They just didn't. It changed my life. It made it very different than theirs. They ended up going to the military. I ended up going to college.
Okay, so you break these records, you make the Hall of Fame. How awesome is it to be able to go back to that school, back to your hometown, and people do recognize you and say, Scrapper was this? Like, how awesome does it feel like you actually accomplished something and you didn't have that? It wasn't like you grew up in a family of football players or something. Like, how awesome is it that you were the first, you were the leader of the pack in that?
I'm not sure how to answer that, because I don't know if I look in terms of awesome.
What's that word that Arthur would use in 78? Cool or spectacular?
I'd rather stay humble, because I tell you, if you get up there too high, it's a long drop.
Okay.
Right?
I've
always tried to make sure there's 1 foot on the ground. So I don't know if it's... I can tell you that it's very interesting, because I do go back 2 or 3 times a year to my hometown. I just go back. I'm involved with my university back there. I've been on the board of trustees. 2023, I received a humanitarian award for my Costa Rican project. So I'm very familiar, even today. I'm still very connected today with my university because they have been really good to me. I give them a lot of
praise
for giving me a chance because it would not. Coach Ramsey.
Yeah.
Not only did he get me to goal, but he put me on the first starting team on defense after I arrived there.
Yeah.
And I played 35 consecutive games at safety.
Yeah.
And got injured in my 35th game, which was my halfway through the senior year. It ended my football career. I didn't get to play another game, but I have a school record today that hasn't been broken. I have a career. The career and exceptions are at 21, and it has not. It's been 60 years, 60 years, and hasn't been broken yet.
I thought you were going to say for the coolest nickname ever. Well, congratulations on that. I love that. You mentioned that if it wasn't for your coach who believed in you, you might not have gotten the chance that other kids didn't. And I think that taps into the fact that you can't do it alone. And you have to have somebody around you who believes in you and who sees your potential. How important has that been in your life outside of just football and getting into college?
I think it helped shape my can-do attitude. My mother said, "No, you can't. You can't do this." Society said you can't do this. The conditions in terms of high school not having a program, the prevailing thought was you can't do this because there's no program for you to play.
Yeah.
I found ways to get around the I can't do this type of thing. Oh, you can't. You're too small. You can't play college football. I mean, you can't start. I mean, all of these things were shaping this attitude of mine that, today you can't be a public speaker. You're too old.
Right.
I said, I don't pay attention to that. I don't have to listen to that. I listen to, to myself and the faith that I have. And you talk about something. This journey has never been a journey by myself. There's been Castro Ramseys up and down the line. One of the reasons I spent a lot of time back in my college is because I keep telling them I'm trying to pay back. But every time I pay back, you do something that costs me more than I've got the capacity to pay. I never can get it paid off, and that's the way I feel about a lot of people. I can never repay people, and the only way you can probably make a dent is to pay forward. You can't go back and pay. I cannot go back and pull Castro Ramsey up out of the ground and say, "Look, you can't believe what you did that changed my life."
Oh, that's so
right,
impactful.
Yeah,
and I know that you've read my story, and that my martial arts instructor is someone that, to this day, he would have no idea that I wrote a book about the lessons and habits that he taught me, and he would have no idea that I speak from the stage about his lessons, and that the impact that he made on me that I continue to share with other people, and it was all based on him, right? And there was a life before I ever met him. Like, he was on the first U.S. Judo Olympic team. He was in the Air Force. Like, all these stories that this impact that this single man made, that he then paid it forward to me, and then I could continue paying that forward to so many other people. And it's like, we have so much reach potential with each other, and it doesn't. I think that a lot of us don't believe that we have enough value to share with somebody else. And a lot of people think that, well, I don't have any money to give to this church or to do this. And you don't have to always tithe and finance right? You can give your time, you can give your knowledge and your experience. You can help the neighbor kid down the road. You can see somebody in need. And we had a guest on, and she was like, one of the things that they assumed that people get the most benefit is like when you actually help someone else, and like you see someone on the side of the road that needs gas and you help them with that. And it's like the feeling that you get from rewarding someone that has been in your position or you've been in their position. It's just, it fills that reward bucket that I don't think you could ever repay that debt.
Right.
And it sounds like that's exactly what you're
right.
what is filling your bucket now, but you're not able to repay it.
Right. And if there's ever been something said that's absolutely true, is the giver is the receiver. The more you give, the more you receive. Classic example is this little school down in Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have, most people that know me know I don't really have two nickels to rub together to speak. I got enough.
You look very dapper, though. I'm just saying.
I make good, wise choices when I do buy something.
We're on the same. Heidi will agree with you on that. Continue.
But I came up with this idea to start this project to support the school, and I decided I'm just going to get in touch with my friends and say, let's do this together.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need a lot of money. We don't need it doesn't have a bank account. It doesn't have an office. It doesn't have any hired staff. It doesn't. All it is a bunch of friends who will agree that we can do A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take whatever resources we have and combine them and do A, B, and C. Been doing that now. I'm into my 13th year. And if I try to do that by myself, I mean, you can imagine how many people think, you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
It won't work. It won't last.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm completed my 12th year this week, probably. 12th year of doing this project. And it's changed people's lives. We bring them up from Costa Rica to visit the capital, Washington, D.C. We take them to my university's a partner with me. I've talked them into being partners.
Wow.
And they come there. We have a big get-together, and it's just been, we have transformed that community just because we agreed to go do something that we share an interest in.
Yeah.
Didn't take
Billions of dollars,
No.
funding or anything like that, or sponsorship.
Right.
I think that's so important because you're making a difference, and it's all it took was you asking the right people, coming together and creating this mastermind group and brainstorming, like, how can we make a difference? And you just asking and doing it, like actually taking the step forward to complete something or to go forward, where most people would sit back and be too scared to take that challenge, too scared to believe in themselves that they could make a difference or that they would fail, right? And obviously this mindset was set on you since you were 7 years old and you continued on. Is that something that you have been able to teach to other people too? Like this mindset of can't means won't and won't means push-ups. And that's what my instructor told me. And man, I have passed that on for generations to generations. And I still am reminded, people are come up and say, you do not say can't around Blue. You can say cantaloupe, but you cannot say the can't word. And it's just, it's so important how we self-talk to ourselves. And obviously you've done that. How do you teach the younger generations and the people that you work with at church? Like, how do you pass that experience on?
I just believe perhaps being a role model, put it in action. It's one thing to stand behind a desk and say, you can't live your life like this. You can do whatever you want to do. But what if you have somebody who's modeling that behavior? What speaks louder? What speaks louder than me standing up speaking about Dr. King or somebody, and they know that I'm 78 years old. I gave this speech, this performance in Virginia back in June. My sixth great-grandfather was a slave during the American Revolution, and I got invited to speak at this iconic theater in my hometown that I used to sit in the balcony because it was segregated. back in the 50s and 60s.
And now you're speaking.
And
there.
now I'm on stage speaking,
Okay.
right? And I think the most common question or comment made to me, because I would stand there at the end, and there was an hour-long crowd walk by to say hello to me, and the most common question was, "How old are you? And how can you remember all of this?"
That's
Wow.
It was obviously impactful.
Yeah, Now, I mean, they're comparing themselves. A lot of the older folks, because a lot of those in attendance were people that have known me for 50 years. And, their lives are a little different. They're having medical issues. They'll go to the doctor 2 or 3 times. They take a long list of medication. And
Thought you were going to say pee 3 times a night, but yes,
that too. And there's this guy standing up there, looks like he's pretty normal. He can go for 50 minutes without
taking a break.
Taking a break. Didn't have to go pee. Didn't have to take a med.
Yeah.
And he remembered it. It made sense what he was saying. He wasn't stumbling around and forgetting. And that I understood it after I met these people. Why I understand now, because they're coming up on walkers and crutches and canes, and I mean people that I knew from then, 50, 60 years ago. They showed up, and I could see there's a big difference health-wise.
But that's also a testament of you staying healthy and the lifestyle that you had and who you surround yourself around, and you stay curious in life and you continuously grow and learn new things. And like you're taking on these new challenges, and you mentioned like wanting to get into public speaking. And it's like that's a whole nother can of worms that you want to open up. And most people will be like, I don't want to do that at all. But you take these challenges, and it sounds like you can't do that at that age. You take that as the fuel to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I've learned something here. You may recall Linda Marie Miller. She spoke at the same event. I joined her mastery class, and I'm in maybe my 4th or 5th month. She's killing me with writing assignments, speaking assignments. But my peers in this group are in 30s and 40s, and I'm this old guy. And I think you may have touched on something, perhaps even before we started. Instead of looking at age being a detriment or being a weakness or a drawback, age can be a valid, very
valuable asset. Yeah,
asset, and where
whereas experience
they're
comes
on the
in.
front end of speaking in front of audiences, and I'm having to unlearn
bad habits.
things,
Right.
I'm having to unlearn. They've never even started
Yeah.
to create the bad habits. They're on the front end of this. So I'm watching and listening to them, and I said, where would I rather be? I'd rather be in the position I'm in. And I tell them, the only regret I have is that I didn't start at age 30 or 40. But I can't change that. I got to start where I'm at now. And I don't want to be 80 or 90 wishing I had started at 70.
It's 70. Yeah, it's your mindset, 100%. That reminds me of a commercial. It was about I don't even remember what it was, but it was these archaeologists, and they're working in the desert, and it's so hot out, and it's horrible. And this young guy turns to this young girl, and he's like, I can't believe I gave up law school to do this. And then this older gentleman comes up, and he goes, I gave up law to come do this. And it's just your perspective, right? It's like, how is it? And the experience is so valuable, and youth is valuable because you have the energy, you have that drive, you're hungry. Whereas experience, you can slow things down and say, hey, young whippersnapper, I might not be a spring chicken anymore, but I'll tell you what, those are the pitfalls to avoid and the mistakes to avoid. And that goes back to the mentorship. And it's about, you can learn from people who are older than you and from younger than you. And it's helped me become who I am today for sure. And you obviously had that with the people in your lives, and you look back and you see that giving is more valuable than taking sometimes. But you continue to make this difference, and you continue to take on new things in your life that you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to do this because I find pleasure in it. And you're ordained, and you give weddings, and you've done way more than me. And when I was asked to do a wedding, I was like, "Are you serious?" And they're like, "Well, you're a public speaker. Could you do this for us?" Like, oh my goodness! Like, all right, that's a whole new can of worms for me. But I had my cousin had me down in California, and I gave their wedding was at Disneyland, and it was one of the most fun things I'd ever done. And I just took so much pleasure at it. And I've only given like 5 of these. And so you've given over 140. What is it, something that you've learned about yourself and meeting different people and speaking from your heart when you get up and you wed 2 people?
That's a great question. I believe my first, my first dozen or so, they're all scripted out. Okay. Right. The process is interesting. I work for the small company, and today there's just the owner and myself who do the weddings. There was more people at first. And so a person walks in and says, I'm looking for an ordained minister, or I'm looking for an officiant. And they said, well, here's your choices, and they select me. And at that point, I get notified that there's a wedding coming up. Here's the name of the bride and the groom, and they filled out a questionnaire, and that information is given to me, and I will go over that information. So I have some idea who
they are.
Yeah, and I get in touch with them, and then I'll invite them to do a Zoom call or meet me in person. Let's sit down and let's talk about what you envision your wedding to be. How do you want it to be? And I tell them, this is your wedding. This is not mine. I'm here to serve you. Whatever you want, that's what we put together. And consequently, this creates a relationship between me and them. 99% of the time. I've done 1 or 2 where I met them right there.
On the spot.
Yeah. But it's been an interesting journey because I end up creating a relationship with them. And when we're there doing the wedding. In the moment, I can look at them and I can say something screwy, or they know where I'm coming from. I can get a feel for how much levity or how serious I have to be. Sometimes I have the chance to meet the parents, the relatives before while we're getting ready, and I've got them, in
your hand, right?
And so it's just a fantastic experience to have. And
so you kind of do a little prep work, and you do your recon, obviously. What would you tell how would you advise someone who wants to be an officiant, or someone who has been asked to be an officiant? Because people ask you all the time, and I don't mean you personally, but I have friends who are asked, could you officiate our wedding? And what advice would you give them to be successful to bring 2 people together?
First of all, to apply good common customer service sense.
It's about them.
Yes, it's about them. And I will send emails, text messages to them, say, I am here for you 24 hours a day. If you got a question, call me. Don't, just let me know how I can be of help to you. And the goal is always to have that ceremony, because I will prepare them a draft ceremony for them to review. Change anything you want to, and they will make some changes, adjustments, add things, take things away. But that ceremony, I tell them, you have to worry about cakes, guests, venues. This is not something you have to worry about. This is off your list now.
Yeah.
I will be there. I will be ready, and I'm there in my black suit, my yellow tie. I've got my brand. And
your brand.
I will show you afterwards 100+ photos of me with all of my wedding.
I love that.
And I take a photo of every wedding I do. It's for my grandkids one day. This is what Grandpa used to do.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever had someone faint, or do you see someone ready to, so nervous? How do you calm someone in the moment and make them relax and bring them back down and say, it's okay, we've got this? Like, how do you put them in your hands?
There's 2 or 3 that come to mind. I'll just tell you this one. And it was an older guy. It was his first marriage. It was their second marriage. And this particular venue, he was with me for about 10 minutes before the bride showed up. I could see him. He starts off about a foot, 2 feet away from me, and next thing I know, he's leaning into me, and I'm looking at him, and I say, "Are you okay?" And he says, "I'm not sure." I said, "We can do this. We can do this. Now come on over a little closer, and lean on me, and we'll work this out." So to the wedding, I was saying to him, when I had a chance, I would say, "You got this."
Basically, holding his hand.
Yeah. And he made me the most nervous of all of them.
You didn't want him to fall down.
He was about twice my size.
Yeah.
It just was unpredictable. The others I can tell, the piece in the wedding that's always fascinated me was when they do their own vows, and the men are worse than the women. The men cannot get through reading the vows. The personal vows.
Interesting. Okay.
We have the traditional vows,
Sure.
but there's the personal vows. And they show up, they're macho, and they've got, and when they start reading that, they become basket cases.
Sure.
That's when you really you got to reach over and say, "Okay, I got your elbow, you'll be all right."
Yeah.
They're just literally
shaking. Well,
they've never done this before. Especially in front of people.
Well, and most people don't have, one of their biggest fears is public speaking. Hence, a lot of people would never try to go after a career like that and find a reward in that like you are now. And it is terrifying to stand in front of people you care about or worried about the way that you'll look or you'll fumble your words or whatever. And I think that that's so important, knowing that it's about them and that somebody's got your side. I want to know, because you had mentioned my podcast with my wife Heidi and she being a guest about marriage advice. And we discussed before coming on air about the things that I love to tell my friends who are getting married or younger kids that are getting married, like my life lessons and habits of being successful at a marriage, because I'm no expert, but my wife and I are on 12 right now. And it's just like, I think we're doing something good because we love each other so much. And she would be a guest on the podcast. But what is something that you tell people that you're marrying is some kind of advice what is the one thing that you would tell couples that you would want them to know about commitment and faith and just treating each other with respect?
There's several things I would tell them, but watching your video with Heidi, I'm going to change my line.
Okay.
The line is, we can work this out.
Oh, okay.
We can work this out. I heard that so many times in that podcast that whatever the trial or tribulation that would occur, and you cited several along your all's journey, and you would say in a very comforting way, a confident way, a encouraging way, we can work this out. And people have to hear that. People don't, who's panicking don't want somebody panicking with them. They want to know we can work this out. Yeah. I often think of football coaches who are looking at, a minute left in the game and they're behind, and he's not standing there saying, "Oh, well, this is over with." He's standing there saying, "We can work this out."
Yeah.
Just go back in there. We can work this out. Seattle
Seahawks last
night.
Yes.
We can work this out. And that's what I think I would now coach young couples who would call on me for that type of advice. I said, you're making a commitment, and it says, for better or worse, rich or poor, work it out. You can work it out if it's to be worked out.
Well, and I think that's so important. And I think you and I talked before going on air, and it's like the little things, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And I mentioned that I dislike very much when my wife leaves the fridge open for longer than 12 seconds. And it's like, oh, please close it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. but it does hurt me and it does irk me. And when I redo the dishwasher in front of her and I go behind her and I fix it to make everything fit better, it does irk her. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
And if it doesn't bother you in a month, it doesn't matter. It's just like you're going to figure it out. And I think that's so powerful because I think we all need to know that not only in marriage, but in our relationships and our teams and at work. It's like there are so many people around us that we can work better together if, I don't care if Susie always shows up late, or don't worry about it. Let them do them and just see how you can help them and how you can help yourself become a better person. Because in the end, if I'm giving other people, I'm going to get more in the end, right? And it's just going to make a better community. It's going to make a better place to work. It's going to make a better home to live in, to raise your kids, a better spot to be around with your friends. And it's like, I think if we could all do a little bit better and just relinquish that let them theory by Mel Robbins, it's like, just let them act that way. And like, what can you do to help somebody else? It's not always about you, and don't take it personally. And it's like, I think that's great advice. And I think I think you hit the nail on the head on that.
Okay, I'm going to get in trouble on this one.
Okay, let's get in trouble. I said no headlines, but let's do it, Arthur. Go.
On that subject. I've never brought this up before, but she leaves the door open on the cabinet in the bathroom. I've been trying to figure out, does it open up on its own? How does that door...
Is the house tilted slightly? Like, is gravity on that side?
I walk in there and it's open, and I've never used it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't open it up. I didn't leave it open.
Sure.
But it's open. And I'm thinking, I'm missing something here. Something's not right. I just shut it. I leave. I never say a word about it. That's one thing. On the dishes.
We all have these dishes issues. Sure.
I have literally, on my phone, taken pictures of a completely full dishwasher on how it's set up. So that if I put something in there and I'm concerned, I go look at that picture on my phone. It goes here. It goes there. And I don't always do that, but it's on my phone. It's to protect me.
I do the same
I'm
thing.
In trouble after this.
I do the same thing at Starbucks. I have in my notes how my wife takes her order, and it's so long, like a CVS receipt long, right? And I'm like, I have to show the person, the barista. I'm like, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess it up. So I feel the pain on that.
So we have that in common. The last thing we want to do is upset.
Yeah, and I know who the boss is.
Fail.
Yes.
When it comes to who we love. We know we won't be kicked out, but it means so much that they know that we care enough.
Yes.
And that we could get back home with the right latte or whatever.
Yes.
And that I don't care. I mean, it's not important enough for me to run out in the living room and say, what the devil is that doing?
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
Because there's something I don't understand, and it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. And it's probably, she's not leaving it open to irk you, right? My wife might be leaving the fridge open to irk me, right?
I'm not going that far.
Okay. But because she's still using it, and how dare me close it, but she's not doing it to irk me, right? It's just, it's convenient for her. And when you look at it and you take a step back and you change your mindset and your perspective, it really does relax you a lot. And it makes you realize, like, okay, at the end of the month, we're still together. And, like, the fridge is still cold, right? And so it doesn't matter.
And you look around and you see there's a focus on this piece, but there's a lack of focus on 100 other things around that you could be focused on. So it's just fascinating, and that's human nature, human behavior. Yeah,
well, and pay attention to what the priority is, and the priority is your love and respect and admiration for the partner or the wife or the spouse or the husband that you have or your kids, and it's like that, or the friendship that you have, because you can say mean things and cruel things to your friends, and you ruin a relationship. How many relationships have you lost because of something you said or something you didn't say? Right? And that giving someone a compliment is just as powerful as saying something horrible to somebody else. And so always lift other people up just as much as not saying something negative to somebody else.
And not to be morbid, but
Too late.
When you want the last thing that you said to someone who, for some reason, either is not there anymore, would you want the last thing you said to be something that was meaningful and positive and loving? Or would you want it to be, God, why did you leave that why did you want to leave that door open?
Yeah.
And not be positive.
Well, I will reveal something that I've never revealed, and it's because you brought up something that you had never revealed to anyone, and that is the relationship with my father. I have complete closure with him, and I was a bitter kid to my dad for the choices and the way that he acted, and my entire life I challenged him and I put him on the hot seat, and I was bitter, and he was going down a very fast trajectory downhill in his life. And many people reached out to me and said, you know what, you should make contact with him again. And reluctantly I did. And to make a long story short, we got off the phone, and he basically, I knew that he was willing to change who he was. And I got off the phone and I let it sit with me for a little bit. And 5 minutes later, I decided, I was like, you know what? I want to remind him what a difference he is. And the reason I am here is because of him, and that I love him. And so I called him back, and he answered the phone and he said, yeah. And I go, I just wanted to let you know that the conversation didn't end the way that I wanted it to end. And that is that I love you. And no matter what you do, I'm always going to be your son, and you're always going to be my dad. And I want you to hear that I love you. And he said, oh, he started crying. He goes, you haven't said that since you're 12, which wasn't true. But at the same time, he was like, thank you so much. And I go, I love you, and I will always be here for you. And he died 2 days later. And you talk about knowing in my heart and in my mind that I have complete closure with my father. I'm not bitter. I'm not resentful. I don't hate him anymore. He came to closure with me, and we both had a conversation at the very end where we were at peace. And that right there should be the icing on the cake of, don't say things that you can't take back in this world, and that your words have absolute power. And whether the way that you talk to your kid or the way that you talk to your parents or your friends or the loved ones, respect them and just be you, and always know that your power is within your words and your actions. And so thank you for letting me reveal that, something that I've never done, except my wife has heard that story. But I 100% would agree with you that that is something that people should do. And you don't want to be remembered for the last word of being something negative that you bring out with somebody else. Mm-hmm. So to continue pressing that, what is something that you believed as a kid that maybe kept you back, but you no longer believe? Something that was, you maybe believed that because of people telling you, but ended up not being true, and you're glad that you didn't take that for the rest of your life.
That's a tough one, because I have difficulty recalling periods of time when I was negative or had negative thoughts. I was pretty fortunate to be able to be on a positive, going in a positive direction. I think today, when I really give serious thought to things that I see around me, I think there's a lot of us that believe that we can't do things, that it's somebody else's fault, or that we don't have control, and that we can't make a difference, and that we settle, we settle.
Yeah.
And I'm just thankful that did not take hold on me, because I do see it. I've seen it all my life. I've got friends that certainly that I grew up with, that came out of the military, and I would find it interesting that I could go back home and sit on a bar stool next to them, and aside from 2 years in the service, their life hasn't changed. And I said, what are you going to do? They said, well, I'm doing fine. I'm here every day. I got a little job. And
Yeah.
I said, but the
Mediocrity
but
should
the
never be celebrated.
Right. But we've grown up in the same community. We've got options. We got choices we can make. But I just have never wanted to be one who's it sort of reminds you of, what is it, the crabs that won't let another crab out of the bucket? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I've never heard that analogy.
No, a crab, you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket.
I've gone crabbing, but continue.
Well, a crab will try to crawl out, and other crabs will pull it back in.
Okay.
I don't know where I got that from.
Okay.
But that's true. We'll look it up.
Okay.
It's something like that. And I've seen that a lot in my life, that there's people who don't want you to succeed because it makes them uncomfortable.
Yes. And
I think I have run into that my peers, very few of them are active today. Mm-hmm. They've not been active for 10, 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And they have a lot of potential. They can do things. I know they can. But they are scared of what their buddies are going to say if they go do something. I've just never had that as a
roadblock.
A roadblock. It would be there, but I'd say that's not going to be enough for me to
stop. Well, you mentioned something to me early when we met, and that was that you still have a lot of fuel in your gas tank to get going. And that stuck with me when you said that, because I don't care how old you are, you have so much more potential, and you can stay curious, and you can continue learning, and you can give back to our community to make it that much better. And you have continued to do that. You've continued to matter. And I think that your story matters to people. And I think a lot of the things that you said today are going to continue to make that impact. And a lot of the experience and knowledge that you've shared, I think people will take, not just today, but continue to take it on with their lives. And I know that you're continuing to do that with your public speaking and with the work that you do and with your faith. Can you tell us how people can find out more about you and get in contact with you?
Well, I'm trying to get up to date on social media. I've resisted Facebook. Mm-hmm.
But you can use your phone for, you can take a picture of the dishwasher. Sure.
Yeah. It's I think I'm one of the last few that's on an AOL account.
Okay.
So, 'cause
that's the original email for everybody, right?
Yeah. I think
Did you have a CD that you would put in for AOL? Did you put the CD inside the computer disk?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, the first one was that little buzz sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got mail or whatever it was came up. But I'm available at AT Alpha Tango Bravo ROADY at AOL.com. That's one of the reasons I haven't changed it. It couldn't get any simpler than that. But it's AT Broady, my initials, ATBROADY at AOL.com.
How can people hear your speech on Martin Luther King, Have a Dream speech? How can people find that?
Last year's speech is on YouTube.
Okay.
And
Can I send a link to that? Can I put a link in the comments?
I can get you that link.
I would love that.
It's a fascinating story. And I had to, if I was going to go down this road, I had to have, a hook. I had to have because the ultimate purpose is to remind people that there was a dream. My concern and my theory today is that the further we get away from Dr. King, the further we get away from his message. My grandkids, for example, if I ask them, you know anything about Dr. King? Yeah, he did. I Have a Dream. I said, well, what was that? I don't know. So we got to get that information to the next
generation,
one more level.
Right?
Yeah. And so how do you do that? Well, I knew about this story about the dream was by accident, actually. not by divine intervention. I'll put it that way. He did not show up that day at the March on Washington with the intention of delivering that portion of the speech. He was interrupted in the middle of his planned speech. He was being encouraged by someone on the side to tell them about your dream. Tell them about your dream, Martin. And in the middle of his speech, he puts the speech aside that he prepared, and he starts down this I have a dream thing. And it becomes known as the I have a dream speech, and it basically provided it became the driving force that changed the civil rights laws
Absolutely.
And life forever after. All because he made that on-the-spot decision to change what he had planned to say. Now, that's the hook. The name of my speech is The Dream That We Almost Never Heard. But in the course of giving that story, I repeat that I have a dream speech. So you can't go in and come out without being reminded or informed of what the dream speech was. That's the angle to the dangle. That's the approach I've taken.
Well, and you do it justice, and you continue doing so. And I love that your story matters, and your sharing your knowledge matters to people. And I am so grateful for you being a part of the Blue Stiley podcast, sharing your story, and being a friend to me and a mentor to me. And I look up to you and I respect you. And thank you so much, Arthur. I love you, and thank you for being a part of this today.
I want to thank you for allowing me to stalk you. That's what I
Well, you know it's not online, so you must be out of my house since you don't get online. I'll be looking out the windows now.
No, right here.
I love it.
Right here.
Thank you so much for being a part of this and sharing your story.
And you make a big difference. We should have plugged your book, too, because if you haven't gotten this book, go get this book. And there's about 5 things that you just instantly connect with me. And I told you about the one. When your karate coach called you out for not paying attention. I had a coach that called me out for not paying attention, and I have never forgotten it. And I've never made that mistake again.
Yeah.
Right, that was enough.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I did for all these years, but I've never forgot that moment when he said, what were you thinking about? Why were you not paying attention to me? And I've never forgot that.
Well,
Changed me.
It's so impactful sometimes, the power of words and the power of the moment that you're in, that you remember all of those little things. And it's like we were talking about, we're reading a book about, actually it was Forrest Gump that my wife, that I introduced our daughter just a piece of it, and how time slows down when something is very, very important or traumatic, like in a car crash. And it's like your brain just slows down so much, and it is so memorable. And you remember it like it was yesterday, and you can go back in time and say, oh, why didn't I do this? Or why did I do this? But it just slows down so much. And I think that those little moments in time where you can take a step back and say, what did that mean to me? How can I reflect? How can I learn from it and grow from it? And it's those moments that are the most special, those experiences. Because I remember that moment where he told me, like, what are you doing when you're punching, right? Are you just going through the motions, or what are you learning when you're being punched just as much as you are punching? That applies to everything in life.
Exactly.
What is your intent and purpose behind what you are doing? And man, you've got to learn to focus. Otherwise, you're doing 850 push-ups. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for being a part of my life, and I love you. Thank you so much,
too.
Arthur.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. If this episode brings you value, or you know someone who could benefit from it, the best way to support the show is by sharing and subscribing. It's completely free and helps us reach more people. And if you have any questions, feedback, or guests you'd like me to interview, drop a comment while you're there. I'd love to hear from you. And most importantly, thank you for tuning in. And let's continue sharing optimism and positivity.